No, you guys, I'm on. Okay, there we go. Can you see me now? Yes. Okay. Good. My apologies, you guys. I'm just now learning how to use this Stream Yard platform. Okay. So, again, as I said, I am a resident of Mexico. I've been to several states within Mexico. I know how things go. And again, there may be some slight differences from airport to airport, but essentially, I mean, they pretty much operate the same. So, I'm going to share this. Hold on one second. Okay. So could you guys see the itinerary? Hope for vulnerable people. I'm not here to talk about how much it costs to get residency for Mexico. This is not what this video, this stream is about. This is solely dedicated to getting justice for Shanquella. I'm not here to talk about residency for Mexico. There are several other channels that have information about that, but this is not what this stream is about. Okay. And I will upload a video going in depth about that maybe another time, but I'm sure that I've already done a video about that, but we're not talking about that. So, okay. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen and let's get this. Okay, so is it on the screen, Sai?
No.
Okay. The what? Okay, but they can't see this. I can see it. They can't see the itinerary. Okay, that's it. Okay. All right, you guys. So unfortunately, I can't put the itinerary on the screen for you to see, but again, this was obtained by the North Carolina Beat. This is where I got this information from. So it says that on Saturday, the 29th of October of 2022, that Nazeer left Dallas Fort Worth, Texas at 10:25 a.m. and it was 5 minutes earlier, and then arrived at 12:19 p.m. Cabo time, which was 4 minutes early. Okay, so we'll round 12:19 off to 12:20 p.m. Cabo time. Okay. So if he's arriving at 12:19 p.m., the first thing he has to do is go through immigration. Okay, he has to be stamped in by immigration. So they'll get his passport, they'll take the pictures, and then they will stamp him in. They normally ask what, how many days, blah blah blah. So they'll stamp him in, and then after that, then he would be allowed to go and get his luggage. Okay. And so after he gets his luggage, once he goes outside of the airport, there are always tons of taxis out there. Mexico does not, for all of the states that I've gone to within Mexico, they do not allow Uber to pick you up inside of the airport, on the airport premises. Okay, there has to be an alternative location for them to pick you up from the airport, for Uber to pick you up from the airport. So let's assume that he just took, a taxi. Okay, and all of this can be found out via the cameras. There are always cameras inside and outside of all the airports. Okay, and so he got into a taxi. The villa is 30. Even really 20, I would say 20 to, at the most 40, 45 minutes if it's like heavy traffic. Okay. But it's like 20 minutes away from, the airport to get to the Cabo Villas. Okay. So if he got there at 12:20, let's say he went through immigration, we'll give him a whole hour. They move extremely fast. I have been through several airports, not just in Mexico, but in Portugal, Africa. They move quickly, very quickly through the line. Here in Costa Rica, there could be scores and scores of people, but they move very, very quickly. So I would say, from 12:20, to the point where he got to immigration and then got his stamp and then was on his way out to get a taxi to the villas, we'll give an hour. Okay, so by 1:20, he should have been out of there. Okay. And then he was able to get right into a taxi. Again, they don't allow Uber on the premises within the airports. And I can speak for all of the states that I've gone to, and I've gone to about 4 or 5 states within Mexico, and none of them allow Uber into the airport. Okay. They like to reserve that for the taxis. Okay. So he was able to get out. And let's say he did, order an Uber and he went to an alternative location to get in the Uber, then that's even better, because Uber, we know that it timestamps the time that you ordered, the time that the Uber arrived, and the time and place where you were dropped off. All of that is timestamped. So, but let's say he got into the taxi. Okay, it's now 1:20, 1:25. Okay, so it takes, like I said, about 20 minutes, no more than, and I'm being generous with the 40 minutes. I really am, because it doesn't take that long at all. Okay, so let's say around, 1:45, he should have been there. Plenty of time to either walk into the aftermath of what happened to the beautiful angel Shanquella. He had plenty of time. There is no way that from the time he arrived at 12:20, there's no way that it took him all of those hours to, like he said, 3:30. He arrived at the villa around 3:30. And it's just ironic that it's just funny and weird that he said, 3:30. I got there at 3:30. Makes no sense at all. It does not take that long at all. Like I said, most 40 minutes to get from the airport to the Cabo Villas. So that's issue number one, the time. We're traveling now. We live in multiple places internationally. We know how things go. You're not speaking to, people that just hang out on the block and go nowhere. Okay? We actually live in these places now. We're frequenting these places now, these international locations. So we know how things go. We're traveling the globe now. So you can't just spoon feed us lies and think that we're supposed to take it in and digest it. No. So there is no way. That's issue number one. All of this can be proven. Again, when he arrives in Cabo, the Cabo airport, there's plenty of cameras. Okay, there's plenty of cameras after he deplaned. And immigration has in their system, they should have a timestamp as to when he came before the immigration officer within the airport and to get his stamp in. They should have that in their system as to when he actually got there at their window. Then there's also cameras that will show when he went to baggage claim to pick up his baggage and when he exited the airport and where he was once he got outside of the airport and was still on the premises of the airport. All they have to do is pull the cameras. That's it. But there's no way that it took him 2.5 hours or more to get from the airport to the Cabo Villas. There's no way. That's issue number one. Issue number one. Then he said he came in and he went right to Shanquella. Well, why would he go right to Shanquella? And then he said he put her on her side. Why? So I'm thinking maybe he got the call from them telling him what happened to her. And maybe that's why he came in and went right to her, because obviously if you're going to come in and you're going to go right to someone and then turn them onto their side, obviously there had to be some conversations prior to his arrival to make him behave in that way. But to put on Summer Walker or any type of, like he said, I put on some soft music. I want you guys now to go into your spirit, because we're in the time of spirit, and spirit is so subtle. It's subtle, and it will trip your ass up if you're not careful. And it tripped him up. It tripped him up. He said he came in, he went right to her, and he put her on her side. Then he said he never left her side. Lie number one, because you said you came in, you went to her, you put her on her side. Then you said you went to the game room, and then you came back into the living room. And then he said that he was expecting a nurse. And initially he was told that it was a male nurse. And then a female nurse came. Question for the investigators to ask that needs an answer. Who called the nurse? Of course, the nurse needs to be interviewed. Is she working as a nurse, a registered nurse in Cabo, Mexico? Because it's alleged that there was another friend that was supposedly a nurse. So is that the one that they called? Or did they call for a nurse that is registered in Cabo, Mexico to come and attend to her? Who called the nurse? What time did the nurse arrive? And he actually said that he sat there and waited for the nurse, and he said it took about an hour or so for the nurse to get there. But he also said, I was told that it was alcohol poisoning. So that's what I was, going off of. I was told that it was alcohol poisoning. So it's apparent if we put it all together, because like I said, the behavior is telling the story. If you went right in there to her and then put her on the side, then obviously the conversation about her condition happened prior to him arriving at the villas. Now, I can't fathom them not telling him what happened, because the way that he's saying this is, number one, like he was by himself. Because he said he came in, he went straight to her, he turned her on her side, then he went to the game room, then he came back. Then he also said that, because we was going to do some other things and we was playing. Huh? There's discrepancies there, because he's saying it like he was the only one. So we have a discrepancy. Let's count them. One, there is a timeline discrepancy, very clear. If you arrived at 12:20, 12:26, we give you an hour to get out of that airport. It takes you 20 minutes, no more than 40 minutes. And again, I'm being very generous with the 40 minutes. Still gave him plenty of time to get there to the villas, to, if not witness the entire fight, because it was daylight outside. We could all see that in the video, that while she was being brutally assaulted, that it was clearly daylight, blue skies outside. The coroner's report, the death certificate, says that she succumbed to her injuries 15 minutes after sustaining them. So that's what her time of death was. I think it was 3 p.m. Okay, 3 p.m. So this is 2:45 p.m. The death blow was delivered. Okay, and then prior to that, she was being brutally assaulted by multiple people, allegedly. Okay, we saw the one. Okay, and there is a video, and according to Shanquella's cousin, Champagne, the parents do have that second video showing Winter Donovan, allegedly, delivering the death blow to the angel Shanquella Robinson by putting her hands around her neck and slamming her onto the ground. They have that video, okay? I don't know if they're going to release it. I don't know any of that. But they may just give it right to the authorities, okay? But okay, so we have 3 p.m. time of death, according to the death certificate. So we know that they said 15 minutes after the death blow, she succumbed. So then it happened, let's say around 2:45, the death blow. And then prior to that, she's being brutally attacked. So again, he gets there in plenty of time. We'll give him 1 hour, 1:20, okay, to get out of the airport. And then from there are plenty of taxis outside ready to take you immediately. There's no waiting. So he gets into the taxi, again, which should be shown on the cameras, and then going straight to the villa. So he should have been there at the end of the 1 p.m. hour, 1:45. There's no way that he arrived at 3:30 like he's saying. That's issue number one. So we have a timeline discrepancy. He was definitely there. So he should have arrived when it was going on still, and or the aftermath. That's fact. Just the timeline is right there. It's there. Those of us that live in Mexico, that frequent Mexico, we know how things go. You cannot pull the wool over our eyes. So, given the timeline, by his own admission, this is his own admission, and he has incriminated his own self. He put himself at the crime scene. He did. And we know that if he said that he arrived at 3:30 and the death certificate says that she succumbed to the fatal blow at 3 p.m., that by the time he got there, allegedly, then she was already deceased, according to the death certificate. She was already deceased. By his own admission, he said that she was unresponsive, unconscious. But that can't be true because, again, the coroner's report, the death certificate says that she succumbed to her fatal blows at 3 p.m. So if he arrived at 3:30, we all can do simple math. She had already transitioned. So she, in fact, was deceased and not just unresponsive. So if he's saying that when he arrived that she was unresponsive, then essentially what he's saying is what? Who has a mind? If he is saying that he arrived at 3:30, and not if, this is what he said in the video, that he arrived at 3:30. The death is listed at 3 p.m. And he is saying he saw an unresponsive person, not a deceased person. Then what is he saying? Come on, y'all. Use your mind. What is he saying? The answer is there. Can anybody in the chat type in what he is actually saying, which is contrary? He is saying that he was there. If he's saying that he arrived, meaning he was there before she died, which means he had to be present for what was going on. It's right there. It's right there. See, that's how spirit trips you up. It'll make you tell on your own self. It's very subtle. Another weird thing, okay? So there is another discrepancy on him saying that she was actually still alive, but unresponsive, which is contrary to what the death certificate says. And he was still trying to, console her and get, and comfort her. He said by putting on soft music and rubbing her head. We're spiritual beings. I'm talking to spiritual beings, not the flesh. I'm talking to conscious people. This is how spirit works. It is subtle. He said he put on subtle music and he caressed her head. That's him also telling on himself. Telling on himself. I, being a representative being the divine feminine, a representative of the divine feminine, okay? Wisdom, intuition. My spirit didn't sit well with that. There was an energy that I received that did not sit well with me when he used those words of, I put soft music on and I caressed her head. Are you sure that's all that happened? Because if we can recall, our sister was brutalized, unclothed. 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 So was she still unclothed when he was in there playing soft music and caressing her head? That's very suspect. And because of the pathological lies that have been told by all of these various parties, I hope that during the second autopsy that a rape kit was done. I think that needs to be done. I am not saying that it happened. I'm saying that it should be a part of that, of the examination. It should have been a part because she's been laid to rest so beautifully. She has already been laid to rest beautifully. It was absolutely beautiful. But I hope that they did that, because that's really, it rubbed me the wrong way when he used those words that he put on soft music. You would say, as I just threw on some music, and I was just comforting her. Okay, so we have another issue. Why would you just comfort an unresponsive person? This is issue number 3. Failure to get her the proper help. Now, according to him, he's saying, well, help was already on the way, but it took them an hour to get there. But he also said in an interview with Gerald from the North Carolina Beat, go onto his website, you guys, and go onto his Facebook page. He did a phone interview with Nazeer, the North Carolina Beat. In that phone interview, Nazeer said that he gave her mouth to mouth. Now, I'm saying that he said he gave her only mouth to mouth because when Gerald said to him, okay, so you gave her CPR? And he said, no, I gave her mouth to mouth. CPR, mouth to mouth is a part of CPR. He was disputing with Gerald, telling him, no, it's not the same. So how could you possibly attempt to give somebody something that you aren't even aware of what it truly is? If you breathe into a person, again, inhale, exhale. If you breathe, giving the mouth to mouth, which is the breath in, then it's common sense that you have to make sure that the breath, that there is an exhale. That is what the chest compressions are for, as well as to jumpstart the heart if it's not beating. So you're sitting there just breathing air into someone? Really? There's no way you gave CPR. Why would you give her CPR when you already said that the nurses were on their way. It took them about an hour. And then when they arrived, that they tried to give her fluids. Number one, if it took them an hour to get there, and he said he arrived at 3:30, now we're at 4:30. That's an hour and a half after, according to the death certificate, that she had transitioned. So that means that the nurse, if she's a truly registered nurse, would know the difference between someone who is deceased and someone who is not. I went to medical assisting school, and I remember that the first thing that you do, the first assessment is vitals. This is why when you all go to the doctor and you go to your doctor's appointment, the first thing they do is check your vitals. They're checking your pulse. They're checking your blood pressure. They'll check your sugar. They'll check those things. Because that tells them whether you're alive or not, or what type of care you need and how urgently you need it. So why would a medical professional come and attempt to give fluids on a deceased person according to the death certificate? Why? Issue number four. There's no way. Because if she had done the vitals, she would have known that she was no longer with us. So there would be no reason for any type of fluids. She wasn't even, it doesn't even make sense for dehydration. But again, if you are a medical professional, and this is anyone who happens to be a medical professional, is what I'm saying true? The first thing you do is take vitals. That's the first thing you do. If there are any medical professionals in the chat, then you know that this is true. But we see this every day, or, normally when we go and we go to our medical appointments, the first thing they do is check our vitals. So we know that that's a part of the normal protocol when you have a patient in front of you, whether they're unresponsive or not. So there's no way that this nurse gave her fluids when, according to the death certificate, she had already succumbed to the fatal blow at 3 p.m. It makes no sense. Somebody make it make sense. This is issue number 4. Issue number 4. Don't make no sense. It's a lie. Another lie. But you up here swearing on Bibles, on the Biblios, which you know nothing about. Very clear. Talking about, I swear. Well, the proof is in the pudding by your own admission. Nobody put these words in his mouth. This is what Spirit did. Pushed his ass out there and say, go ahead and make a fool of yourself so people can see the truth through your lies. They go hand in hand. Lie and truth are the same thing. They're just different polarities of the same thing. So there's no way, boo, know that this so-called nurse, so it's leading me to believe that this is not a registered nurse within Mexico, Cabo, Mexico, that this is the alleged nurse, the friend nurse. Can't be a real nurse because she would have done vitals. And she would have known that this person is deceased. Hence, no reason to give fluids. So who tried to give her fluids, boo? Who? And since by this evidence, it wasn't probably wasn't a registered nurse. I don't know where this nurse would have gone to school that she would try to give fluids to a deceased person and who wouldn't check vitals before they proceeded to give any type of care. Which means you had to know the person that was there proposing to be a nurse, trying to give her fluids. No, bro. No. We got problems. We have problems. So let's go through them. We have a problem starting off with his time of arrival to the villa. It doesn't match up. It doesn't add up. We just went through the time. And me, as someone who has roughly traveled Mexico and who has residency in Mexico, I pretty much know how it goes. And I visited multiple lands, and it pretty much goes the same way. But in Mexico, there's no way it took you 2.5 and 3 hours to get to the villa. It's a 20-minute drive. At the most, maybe 30 to 40 minutes. And I'm being generous. So you arrived. You were there. Now, as soon as we can find out and get a timestamp, because the answers are all here, beautiful ones. I hope you all can see it. That they've given us, the answers are there. The answers are in the lies. That's why I said, let's be spiritual. Let's use our spiritual minds. Spirit knows all. So if we can decipher when that video was dropped, when we saw Dejanay allegedly, again, I can't stand that I have to say that, okay, because Spirit has already confirmed, brutally attacking Shanquella. Was it live? Because if it was live, then there's the timestamp, the real timestamp, live timestamp as to when this murder occurred, or the brutal beating and the brutal attack that led to her death occurred. So was it live? I don't know. But some other people know, those that received the video, those that are friends of them that were on their page when the video was released. But we know that it had to be released. If it wasn't live, it had to be released shortly after it happened. So if we can decipher the time that the actual beating had taken place, then that will give us, that would be such a treasure and a gem. It would be such a treasure and a gem. If we can find out also the timestamp on that first video, and then the last video of Winter allegedly delivering the death blow, then we have that those are two pivotal. Like we need those timestamps of those two things. They are vitally important to really put this thing in chronological order. But we know from the death certificate, that gives us a great hint. And Nazeer sure has given us so many gems to put this thing partially together, pretty tight. But if we could find out when the first video was released, when it actually occurred, if it was live, and the last video just before she succumbed. But we know that the death certificate has already told us that it was at 3 p.m. So the death blow, since the death certificate said that she died 15 minutes after the fatal blow, then we know that it had to happen around 2:45. And it seemed like it went on quite some time because multiple people jumped on her. And this is coming from sources that are close to these people that were present in that room, that all three girls jumped on her. And I wouldn't put it past, maybe the guys also did that were present there. So we have a lot of evidence. See, the proof is it's all here, very easy. But I hope that they did an examination on her to see if she was assaulted sexually. I really hope that that was a part of their examination, because I got really weird and creepy vibes off of Nazeer's statement that he put on some soft music and caressed her head. Who uses words like that? It's weird energy that came from that. Everything is energy. Words are energy. They carry a frequency. So it was just this weird vibe. So we have an issue with the time of arrival. Doesn't match, he got there again, 1:45. She succumbed at 3 p.m. The fight, it was still going on. The brutalization, they was still going on at 2:45, and prior to 2:45, that means he was there. This is by his own admission. He provided, I'll provide you, with my boarding information. Okay, thank you. Now, those of us that have been to Mexico, you don't even have to go. You can go on Google and time it from the airport to the Cabo Villas. It doesn't take that long. So according to, the boarding pass, okay, and the guesstimated time that he left the airport, because again, it doesn't take that long for them to move through the people. It really doesn't. Okay. They simply ask you, how long do you need to be here? How long are you going to be here? They put in some information, scan you, take your picture, and you're on your way. And then you go to baggage claim to pick up your baggage. Then, like I said, there's taxis waiting. He don't have to wait. And again, it doesn't take that long to get from the airport to the villas. So that's number one. Timeline doesn't add up. Does not add up. He said that she was still alive, just unresponsive when he arrived, and that he was waiting on a nurse to come who was supposed to be a male, but then ended up being a female, which makes no sense. See, when people lie, they give you information that is unnecessary. I majored in psychology. When people lie, they give you too much information. It's totally unnecessary. We don't need to know whether it was a male or female. We don't need to know how big the villa was and that it had tile. That's another thing he talked about. Like, why the hell do we need to know about that shit? We don't need to know about that. All offering up information that we don't need. That's nervousness. It's a sign that someone is not telling the truth. Then to say that he gave her CPR or mouth to mouth, but doesn't know that CPR involves mouth to mouth. So you were actually hurting her more than you were helping her by your own admission. So you by his own admission, you added further harm, because you were performing an act that you did not know how to properly perform. Again, according to the phone interview that he did with Gerald from the North Carolina beat, he was saying that CPR is not mouth to mouth. When mouth to mouth is not the procedure itself, it is just simply a part of the CPR procedure. So you sitting up here just blowing into someone and they don't even have a way to exhale for that breath to come out. You're causing further harm. This is by your own admission. So we have an issue with him saying that she was still alive, that he attempted to give her CPR, that he moved her over to her side. Somebody who has a neck and spinal cord injury, no. Causing further harm. That's what you're doing. Causing further harm. Delivering improper CPR and then moving someone who has a broken neck and a severed spine. Causing further harm. This is your own admission. It would have seemed right that you would have waited for the nurse, right? Because you believed that what these other individuals told you, that it was alcohol poisoning. You believed that. All the while, all the evidence is showing that it wasn't no damn alcohol poisoning. You got eyes to see. By your own admission, you saw that her blood vessel was burst out of her eye. By your own admission, you saw about her lip. The only thing you say you didn't see was about her head. So you saw the bruises. But you sat there and you decided to cause further harm by giving her improper CPR. If she wasn't dead, what would make you think that she would even need CPR? If she wasn't dead, you said she wasn't dead. How did you know that? How did you know she wasn't dead? If she's unresponsive, how would you know an untrained medical individual who doesn't even know that CPR involves a step of mouth to mouth in the procedure of CPR? How would you know that she wasn't dead? How would you know? Because you would give CPR to someone who you assume is on their way to death, heart stopped, no vitals. So how did you know she wasn't dead? You said you came in and you went right to her and then you put her on her side. How did you know she wasn't dead if she's unresponsive? How did you know? Did you check her vitals? I mean, this is just beginning to be like, this is utterly ridiculous. Then for this so-called nurse, the other issue is about the nurse. If she's a trained and registered nurse, then she would know to give vitals. So we have an issue with who is this nurse, and we need to know who she is, the one that attempted to give her fluids, to give fluids on someone according to the death certificate that was already deceased. Who is the nurse? Who is the nurse? And we also need to know the nurse's time of arrival. But according to him, it took her an hour, and he said he got there around 3:30. So that means the nurse arrived at 4:30. We got problems. We got some problems. Okay? So this is getting, if you guys have anything to say, like put it in the comments. But this is, I just had to like break this down. And there's so much more that's going to be coming to heart, to spirit, and to mind. We're spiritual beings. Use it. Use it. Operate from spirit. Truth is always there. In the lies, as you can see, the truth was inside of the lies. So, yes, let's call them out again. Because here's the thing. Also incriminating yourself to the other individuals that were a part of this and sat there and watched and participated in the brutality against this beautiful woman. If you're not guilty, then your behavior shall validate that statement. If you are not guilty, Winter Donovan, Dejanay Jackson, Alyssa Hyatt, Nazeer Wiggins, Khalil Cook, Malik Dyer, if you are indeed innocent, then your behavior should validate your innocence. It's really that simple. But instead, your behavior is incriminating you. Your behavior is actually saying that you may have some involvement in this. You may have done what is shown being done to this young lady, and brutally beating this young lady and setting her up. You may have done that. Yes, according to your own behavior, which does not corroborate your statement of or your stance of or your innocence, rather, whether you've made it publicly or not. But you did actually, when you went to her parents' home, her family home, and you told her mother and sister that she succumbed to alcohol poisoning. So you were already saying that, oh no, we did not. Because when the sister asked, according to the reports by Gerald of the North Carolina Beat, according to you all sat there, and when the sister asked you, did you jump my sister? You all said, oh no, that didn't happen. The three that were there, Khalil, Winter, and Dejanay, allegedly. So you were already saying, no, we didn't have anything to do with this. Then your behavior from that time that you spoke those words should have validated that. And the end result would have been you being vindicated. Your statement of innocence should have been validated through your actions of innocence, and the end result should have been your vindication. But instead, you said one thing and then did another that's contrary to what you said. So now that you've changed the end result, you all did that by your behavior. You did it. So now the end result has to be you being brought up on charges, being interrogated, being prosecuted according to the evidence, according to the outcome. Because your behavior is contrary. You all did it. Because an innocent person would have maintained their innocence through their actions. There is no need to flee. There is no need. There is no need to delete your social media. There is no need to not, give the authorities what they need so that they can solve this case. There will be no need, because if you're truly innocent, then you know that vindication is the end result. But you didn't even trust what you said. So how could you expect us to trust and believe it? Well, now the evidence it came out just like that. And as soon as the evidence came out, you all started to run. Well, let me say this in closing. Just like the old saying says, you can run, but you cannot hide. If you think that the authorities don't know where you are, you're a fool. We're always under surveillance. Always. Go outside and look on the corner. Look on your corners. It's cameras everywhere. You allegedly took her card and paid for other accommodations. They got cameras in those accommodations. They got cameras of when you entered there. They have cameras of when you exited. There should be Uber records that can easily be subpoenaed to see if you ordered an Uber, what time you ordered an Uber to get your butt to the airport, or did the airport provide a shuttle for you? All of these things can be easily found out. There are cameras on every corner. They probably already know where you are. So don't think you being slick. And according to the North Carolina Beat, your passports have been suspended. And I'll say this, since you thought you were being so cute in doing the crime in Mexico, bringing all of this drama and trouble to another country, thought you were being so slick, right? So, because they won't be able to do anything to us. They won't be able to do anything to us if we do it, in Mexico. Well, you're going to have to answer in Mexico. And word on the street is the prisons in Mexico ain't nothing nice. Nothing nice. I'm feeling spirit was like, there were some S vibes, thoughts of S. Don't even think about it. You're going to be brought to justice. You're going to be brought to justice. My sincere apology. I send out vibrations of comfort to all of her loved ones. We are her extended family. You all need to give yourselves a round of applause as well. But to her mother, to her daddy, to her sisters, her cousins, all the immediate family, I send out vibrations of comfort from Source, the Most High. May the comfort of the Most High overwhelm you with peace. because your loved one, Shanquella Robinson, she was loved. She is loved. Don't you see it? Look at the outpouring. Look at the outcry. Look at the outrage. It's international. She is loved. And we will not rest until she receives and you all receive justice. To everyone, every YouTuber who have used your platform to expose this diabolical act against this beautiful young sister. Many thanks. Many thanks. Those that are keeping it up and keeping it in circulation and keeping it in the forefront. Many thanks to the brother Kyrie Irving and all of the thousands who have donated. Because at first, let me just say this. At first, I was like, well, I know she had insurance. What was the need for the $350K? And then a sister commented, because again, I just wanted to make sure everybody that it was a pure heart. And sister said, sis, there are so many expenses with them having to go back and forth, to Mexico, the council. And not only that, the parents aren't going to be able to work. Who's going to be able to work through this? And she's right. And so all who have contributed, and I most certainly will absolutely do the same if it's not closed, will absolutely do the same. But Kyrie Irving and all the other beautiful names that I saw that contributed to the GoFundMe, within what days? The goal was almost met. This is the power that we have. This is the power that we have. Yes, absolutely. Now it's time for success. Yes, for bills and all of it makes sense. Listen, again, I'm a pure soul heart. I just wanted to make sure that the intentions were pure. That's it. And when the sister said that, well received, made total sense, and I will make my contribution. Then when I say the sister, I don't mean the sister of Shanquella. I meant a sister, and she was just listing all of the things. And it again makes total sense. And so all of those, look at our power. Look at the power. We were able to give financial support and allow them to meet their goal within days. This is the power that we have. Please, let's keep this up. Not just, it shouldn't end with this. Please, let's keep this profound amount of support and community. It just makes me, feel so beautiful inside to see us really coming together. When we've been taught for too long to be separate and, these diversionary tactics. And, a lot of us have succumbed to them. A lot of us, follow, in that vein. And it's time for us to throw that shit off. This systematic, these colonial rules and the systematic blueprint, and really come back to oneness, unity, being a community. All of us were outraged by what we saw. We know we cannot tolerate this. We cannot tolerate this diabolical behavior. We can't. And to the parents, you need to do better. Parenting is the most difficult job in this whole wide world. It is very difficult to rear up, to raise up a child from infancy, a reincarnated soul to and then raise them back up in frequency and so that they can continue on in their journey and get what they need. It's very difficult. It's not for the faint of heart. So if you're not ready to produce, highly spiritual beings that are conscious, that aren't full of hatred, that don't reside in the underworld, of greed and lust, and envy and hatred. We don't need any more of those spirits. The earth does not need any more of those spirits, because we also live in a sentient being. You just thought you lived on I don't know, a rock? This is a sentient being that we live within. So we're here to contribute to the evolution of this sentient being that we call Earth as well, in case you didn't know. So that behavior, it's regression. That behavior, it sets us back. It's poison. That type of mind that leads to that type of behavior, that type of mentality, it is poison. So now, parents, when you don't do your job and you don't address issues that you see in your children, or maybe you don't see them because many of you aren't even taking the time to know the children that you bring into this world, because otherwise you would see these breaches in these children early on, and then you would be able to fix them, to heal them, so that they won't just fester inside of them until the point where that person is consumed by them, and then they end up doing things like this. So peace, love, and light, beautiful ones. Peace, love, and light. Justice for Shanquella. We will not rest, beautiful one, until justice is served. I send my love to the family and to all of you. Peace, love, and light. Continue to do your work. Peace, love, and light.